Okay.
Adam, your hair's so long.
I got a haircut.
Oh, you did?
Like,
okay, maybe it's the camera angle.
Yeah, but I did get a haircut. No, I mean, I'm still growing out the curls, but I got a haircut literally on my first morning in New York. So,
well, it's good. I didn't mean that as like you
Thank
need
you.
a haircut. I just meant like it looks good.
No.
Nice. You have great hair.
I've got a lot of compliments on my hair this week, so I definitely didn't take it.
Okay, good.
Okay, it looks
Your
like
hair looks great too, Robbie.
Thank you.
Oof, that was almost too late. Okay.
It looks like everybody is logged in now, so we're going to go ahead and get started. First, thank you to our audience for joining. I know that one more virtual event on your calendar is probably not ideal right now, but we're so grateful that you're joining us this way so that we can host these guys from afar. We are so excited tonight to be celebrating the release of Blaine for the Win. So thank you for joining us. I know you're not here to see me, so just going to go over a few housekeeping things, then I'm going to turn it over to our guests for tonight. If you happen to have any questions about this event or anything else we're doing here at Unabridged, or if you have any technical issues tonight, I'm going to be monitoring our email, so you can just hit a quick reply to the message that got you into tonight's event, and I'll be there to help you. I also want to make sure that you know that we still do have plenty of signed copies of Blaine for the Win. So if you haven't had a chance to order that yet, you can do that from the link that you were sent, and we'll get that out to you as quick as possible. We'll have them for pickup here if you're in Chicago. If not, we're happy to send them anywhere you are. We just want to make sure that you get a chance to read the book. We also are going to do some time for Q&A in tonight's event. So if you have a question that you want to share with our guests tonight, you can feel free to type a reply to that email that you were sent, or to pop that into the chat. At the bottom of your screen, you'll see a little button where you can open the chat, and we'll be monitoring that as time allows. And I think that's it on the housekeeping end. So just a quick intro for those of you that haven't had a chance to meet either of these guys. We are so grateful to have Robbie Couch, the author of Blaine for the Win, with us tonight on Pub Day. The book is just released today, so fresh off the presses. Robbie's based in LA, but has some Midwestern roots, so we're really excited to feature him here at Unabridged. His previous book, The Sky Blues, has been a YA bestseller here, so we're really excited that this is available now. Of course, joining him for the conversation tonight is Adam Silvera, best-selling author of Infinity Reaper, Infinity Sun. They both die at the end, which has been hugely popular for us here, with Becky Albertalli, What If It's Us and Here's to Us. So we're so grateful that you're here tonight to help us with this conversation, Adam. I'm going to get off your screen and turn it over to you guys. So thank you, everybody, for being here with us tonight.
Okay, thanks, Maddie.
Hey, thank you.
Happy Pub Day, my friend. Hello.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, very important question.
Yes.
Who did the decor of your background? I love it. It's stunning.
I know.
Groundbreaking.
Isn't it? It kind of has Adam Silvera vibes. I will say that.
I'm very attracted to it for sure.
Yeah, I am in Adam Silvera's house, which is freaking weird, but sort of makes sense. Adam was doing some traveling, and I'm such a good friend that I was like, okay, I'll house it. No, it wasn't that. Adam very graciously offered his house for me to work and do these events and stuff. So I've been basically squatting here for a few days,
which I love. But also, I mean, again, I know you're there, and still when I signed on, it was really jarring to just see all my stuff as I'm in this New York City hotel right now. But yeah, it's it should not have been a confusing moment for me, and yet it was.
Oh, I get it. If you appeared in my bedroom, I'd be like, this is not okay. And also, just to anyone who's curious on what this laptop is sitting on, it's a box that I walked into the house, and one of the first things I saw was a box that said, "Let's sniff butts." And I was like, what is Adam ordering? Because I'm not a dog owner, so I don't know. I forget that people order dog things. And for a minute or so, I was a little confused. I'm assuming it's dog food, but maybe I don't know. I don't know everything about you, Adam. So
what's funny is that whatever that is, I definitely have ordered enough of it that I don't even register it anymore. I just see something that's for my dog, and I just tear it open and I'm done with it. But I love that.
Yeah.
I love that in the first few minutes of your book launch of your second novel, we have talked about you squatting in my house and sniffing butts. So I feel like we're off to a great start.
Yay.
It's very gay. But on a cheery, well, I mean, that was plenty cheery too. On a more personal note, how are you feeling? This is the release of your second novel. The first one was obviously released, a little during like a tighter grip of the pandemic. And we are still in the pandemic now, but how are things feeling today?
Yeah, it's overwhelming in the best possible way. A lot of emotions. It's so cool to see the book actually get out there and to have people like tagging me in posts and photos of the book, like being in bookstores and like getting, ordered to their homes is just like the coolest feeling ever. So that's wonderful. I will also say I've had a lot more fun with, the Sky Blues was definitely really fun, but because it was my first, there was just a lot of unknowns and a lot to navigate. And I definitely felt like the pressure was on, the heat was on, like every second of every day leading up to pub day for the Sky Blues. And so for this time, I feel like I just I know the terrain a little bit more. I'm definitely not a pro, but with book 2, I definitely feel a little bit more veteran than I did for book 1. So I've been able to just kind of enjoy it more, I think. And so that's been really nice. And
you also have like some more like built-in readers than you did the first time, people who have like already like read and loved the Sky Blues. So it's that part is a little less stressful, where it's like, okay, like, I know people have like read and discovered Sky and they loved it, and you've been hearing about, from them for the past year as well. So it's like a lot, you know that there are Robbie Couch fans out there this time.
Yeah, my mom is on this call. I think she's the biggest one. Shout out to
Yay, Mom Couch.
But yeah, no, that's true. It was really cool to see people like noting Sky and how much they enjoyed it and how excited they were for Blaine. So very cool day.
Well, speaking of Blaine, our little sassy gay, what is this novel about for anyone who has not done their basic research before coming to your launch party?
Yeah, what's up with that? Google me. Google the book. No, just kidding. So Blame for the Win is loosely based off of Legally Blonde. And I say loosely based because I don't want anyone buying it thinking like it's a direct retelling, because it's not a direct retelling, but it's definitely inspired by Legally Blonde. And especially in the first few chapters, the story kind of gets set up in a way that feels really familiar. You meet Blaine Bowers right in chapter 1. He's so excited for his big 1-year anniversary dinner with Joey Oliver, who is his boyfriend, who he's head over heels about. And he's really excited because he thinks that Joey's going to ask him to go on his big spring break trip with his family. But what happens instead is he gets dumped, which anyone who's seen the film Legally Blonde knows that very cringy, terrible moment right at the beginning. And he gets dumped because he's not a quote unquote serious guy. And Joey has these like political ambitions and wants to be president someday. So he's looking to date like more serious guys. And Blaine's just like a artsy fartsy sort of kid. And so Blaine decides to run for senior class president to be Joey's successor as senior class president, to kind of prove his serious guy chops and hopefully win him back. But he learns very quickly that he has to sort of he's definitely out of his wheelhouse, and he has to sort of sacrifice aspects of who he is to be this person that Joey wants, and he has to wrestle with that. So similar to Legally Blonde, but definitely different in very meaningful ways too. I
love this, and I'm reading it now. I got my copy this morning. And sorry, I wasn't trying to like hide the cover. I just have like this 6'4" person's hand. But why Legally Blonde? Like was there a moment when you were watching it for, I'm assuming like the 200th time or something, that like a lightning bolt idea struck? What did this come to you during the most recent 2020 election? At what point did the concept for this novel start gestating?
Yeah, I knew I wanted to do a rom-com because we're still in the pandemic, but we were definitely in the pandemic when I was writing this book. And so I knew I wanted to write something really lighthearted and definitely heartfelt and something that had some meat to it, but at the same time was a really great story for people to be able to escape into. So that's sort of where I started. And then I was kind of revisiting a lot of my favorite rom-coms growing up. And I was like a 90s, early aughts kid. So rom-coms like Legally Blonde, Miss Congeniality, You've Got Mail.
Miss
Congeniality. I know it's hard to choose. Like Miss Congeniality might be the number one, but I was sort of revisiting a lot of those stories and trying to get inspiration. And then it kind of came to me that like, why not kind of do my own like queer twist version of Legally Blonde, and it kind of just fell into place. I had some really great conversations with my editor and my agent, and it just felt like the right time for me to write this book. So it just kind of worked out that way.
I love that. And seriously, like I haven't thought about Miss Congeniality in years, but I have such fond memories of watching that with my mom. And just like my mom laughing at so much of the stage stuff in that movie. So I am ready also for your gay Mr. Congeniality.
I mean, hey, don't put it past me.
Thanks, Mom. So yesterday, in celebration of Blaine for the win, you did a Legally Blonde rewatch. Hashtag Legally Blaine, which was the original title, right?
Yeah, that was like the working title for a while, at least to me. And then we I don't know the exact timeline, but for a few months as I was drafting it, it was Legally Blaine. And then we decided to switch it up because, to my point earlier, we were like, we don't want people to think it's like a direct retelling, so we wanted to kind of give it some space between the stories. But I do think Legally Blaine, it kind of rolls off the tongue. I kind of like it.
I love it. They're both great.
Yeah.
Was there anything while you were rewatching the movie yesterday that had kind of like sparked an idea for you that is obviously too late to now put in this beautifully printed novel, or anything you wish you'd done differently with this book?
Well, that's a good question. I do feel like there was opportunity. I mean, there's always like ways to look back and be like, oh, I could have done that better, this differently.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like rewatching it, and of course I'm blanking on the professor's name, who was the Holland Taylor's character. What is her name? What is the professor's name?
I did not watch this 24 hours ago. So.
I know, this is terrible. If you know what that character's name is, put it in the chat. But Holland Taylor is like the professor who becomes Elle's like ally at Harvard. And Blaine definitely has like adult allies, but no one specifically in that like teacher role. And I feel like that would have been a really cool, if I could have found a way to like make that work with with a teacher at a school. There's some teachers in it, but not in that specific way. So that's maybe a missed opportunity, but
I wouldn't be hard on yourself. I mean, especially like if it didn't come to you organically and you're proud of the product like as is, chances are you didn't need like that puzzle piece like forced into it, and the narrative like survive without it. But I totally hear you where it's just like you're always gonna be able to like reflect back and think like, oh, I could have done with this, I should have done this or whatever. And it's like you do the best you can in the moment that you are writing that book with the resources that you have, and that's just like the best way you can like serve your art. So
for sure, yeah, it was really fun. I loved doing a rewatch. It was more like affirming that it was like, yay, I love this story, I love this book, and it got me more excited than anything else. So
okay, well, we got to get Reese Witherspoon and Jennifer Coolidge like copies of the book, obviously. So we need to like all start tagging them and make that the thing.
Yes.
So this was your second novel that you've written, and also that not just that you've published, that you've also written, right? Like, because Sky Blues was also the first novel you had written. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, there was a novel that we won't get into, but I wrote something. I didn't finish it. I got close to finishing it.
Yeah.
Could not tell you the plot. Could not tell you what happened. Could not tell you the character. Yeah. So Sky was my first.
I don't know if I would count that one. Well, it definitely wasn't a completed novel. So Sky was your first completed novel, and Blaine was your second completed novel. Were there lessons or difficulties that you had in writing Blaine, or like lessons that you learned from writing Sky that you were able to bring into Blaine, or things that just felt easier with Sky that felt trickier with Blaine?
Ooh, that's a
The
good
sophomore
question. I feel
novels, for those who don't know, are traditionally much more difficult for writers. It's the first time that we are writing under contract. It's the first time we're writing while knowing that our first book is on course for publication, and that we're now affected by reader feedback and what readers love out of our previous work, and so on and so forth. And you just lose a lot of freedom when you're just writing novels by yourself. So the sophomore novel has always been traditionally difficult for authors. So what was your experience with this?
No, those are all good points that I definitely felt. And I feel like oftentimes, because I wrote Sky Blues over the course of like 3-ish years, and Blaine's timeline was much more
was not 3 years, yeah.
Not 3 years. So that was tricky for me too, because it's really obviously beneficial to like sit with ideas and let it just kind of like let the story kind of sink in and then draft and change as you go. And I didn't have quite as much of that luxury as with Blaine, and to your point, most authors don't. I feel like one thing that I learned from Sky that was really important for me to then do with Blaine was really think thoroughly about the full character arcs for all the secondary characters before I got started too. I didn't do that with Sky, and I feel like it still ended up in a good place because I did it as like through the editing process
in revisions.
Yeah. But with Blaine from the beginning, and that's not to say like there weren't still character changes and arcs weren't still changed and more fleshed out even more, but it was a goal of mine to, before I started, really have like pretty thoroughly planned out arcs for every character. Because not only does it make the character stronger, but then it can also really inform the main character's trajectory too. So that was a big one. And I think I just became an even bigger proponent of outlining. Like I definitely outlined for Sky, but for Blaine, it was definitely like, okay, each chapter broken down bullet point by bullet point, not only like the plot points themselves, but like the emotional arcs and like the character development, items that I wanted to get in each section. So I'm a big proponent of outlining before I even start. So I definitely leaned into that even more.
I am team outline as well. Which for me is like hilarious because I do not plan ahead in life, but like, when you're writing so often, it becomes such a headache to just not know the trajectory of your characters, both sort of scene by scene and emotionally, and it can just start to feel like a mess. And I really love that you spoke to that for the secondary characters, because they're at risk of feeling so one-dimensional if you aren't making sure that their lives feel fully lived in. And like I really do think that, especially with our more intimate cast, like we should be able to write novels from those characters' perspectives, and like because we understand them so deeply, which leads to my next question. Obviously, like we love Blaine. Who did you have like the most fun writing, like in like the secondary cast of characters?
Definitely Ant Star. Loved Ant Star, and
I've seen a lot of Ant Star love. The past few weeks, so. Which
I love to see people. I've had a handful of people know their love of Ant Star as well, which is so great. I would say Ant Star, maybe because we're closer in age than I am with high schoolers at this point. So a lot of her trajectory was just like more relatable, but she's a really fun character. She was loosely based off Paulette. So anyone who loved Paulette and Legally Blonde might get a kick.
Is Paulette the Jennifer Coolidge character?
I had so much fun with her, and she's like Blaine's biggest cheerleader. She's funny. She is definitely going through it. So like there's a lot of moments where you see her dealing with some stuff, sometimes comedically, sometimes in a darker sense, but she was really fun to write, and I feel like she kind of filled a void that the story needed in a really cool way that just worked out great. So I loved Ant Star, but it's hard because I loved all of them. Like each one of them has their own special connection to me in a way. I love Trish. I think Trish is great. So it's a tricky question, but I'd have to go with Ant Star with two R's.
I'm gonna like bully you for either a Ant Star adult novel or an Ant Star like prequel like YA novel, so we can experience
Oh
Ant Star
yeah.
and all her like YA Coolidgeness
Yes.
at that age.
Yeah, because she'd be like it'd be like a 90, I think it'd be like a 90s YA if
Which
she was a
is
teenager, which would be
historical
fun.
fiction.
Right,
Isn't
right.
that upsetting to think like, oh, a
Yeah,
novel set in the 90s, when, I mean, you're 1988 or 80,
88,
yeah,
yeah.
you're 88. You're, yeah, my brother's age. And wait, are you older than my brother? No,
Why
no,
is that? Let's not go there.
no. Well, my brother just turned whatever age he just turned, which is not helpful for this conversation.
34, 30, I'm 33.
But so he's 1988. So, and he's April 1st. So he's older.
He's older because I'm a December baby. So I almost want to
Exactly.
lie and say I'm 89 because I'm December, but that's not
Right. Yeah. No,
ethical.
you're
So
88.
yeah.
What
But
was
really
I
quick
just
to your point, well, you can think on it. But I was
okay?
also really going to quickly say I just watched Turning Red, which was based in 2002, I believe. Such a
Right.
good film. If anyone has watched Turning Red yet, and I didn't
Not no
know.
spoilers.
Yeah, I won't. Well, yeah, it's basically that's not really a spoiler, but I didn't know when I started it that it was a little bit of a throwback, and it even like from 2002, it's like they're like with the Tamagotchis and like the no smartphone, like it was just it just felt very different, but it was fun. It kind of made me think
Oh,
like, do I want to write a story that's like a little bit of a throwback?
okay.
But yeah,
Well, let me offer you some wisdom right now. Someone who just finished a novel that takes place in 2010. It was the most annoying thing in my
oh
life, like
gosh.
having to Google like what iPhone was out at that time, what were its capabilities, what were the games available in the App Store at that time,
Oh my
what
gosh.
Metro cards were available in New York at that time, what train stations weren't there, what part of the High Line actually was open, like all iPods were a thing in 2010.
Yeah.
So it really, I was like, it was so fun and in some ways like really like throwback, but in other ways it's just like a copy editing nightmare.
Yeah. Well,
uh
and then also not to get too off the rails here, but I'm sure like because
let's do it.
advanced technology or like smartphones and everything has just changed so much the way we communicate that affects the plot. So if you have ideas in your head and then you're like, wait, this capability didn't exist like 5 years ago, then
Yeah,
it
I
can
mean,
upend your whole your whole plot.
like you can't be like, oh yeah, I'll call you on Zoom, right? It's
Right,
like
right.
no.
Yeah.
But like even we were like having to check when FaceTime became available on iPhones, because I'm just like, oh yeah, FaceTime, and it's like, wait, and it was literally within that window, like a very nearby window. Like I almost at one point I actually did rewrite it to remove Facebook to make it just a phone call. And I was like, that feels so bizarre now. But
Yeah.
yeah. So
Wow.
anyway, I look forward to that for Ant Star. Were you working on Blaine for the Win at all during the 2020 election season?
Yes, that would have been right before the 2020 election, right?
Okay.
I think if my timeline's right, it would have been like the fall before that, unless I'm off by a year, because in my mind, I don't even, it's like,
Right.
it's anywhere between 2016 and 2025 right now. I can't even tell you, but yeah, I think
Yeah.
it was right before the election.
So how did you feel that sort of influence? Obviously, Blaine is not running for president yet. But how did you feel that, the real life politics that we've been living through, and obviously the, monstrosities from 2016, how did you feel that kind of like influenced the way that you handled politics, class politics still, but politics nonetheless,
Yeah.
within the novel?
Yeah, there's not like a lot of explicit, obviously, like comparisons to the 2020 election, but in many ways, there's a lot of themes that I think are related in terms of like who has power, who doesn't have power, whose voices get listened to, whose voices are not listened to. Hopefully people see the election and Blaine for the Win as sort of a foil to the 2020 election and the 2016 election, in
Yeah.
that the issues that are being brought to the table by Blaine and Trish and the other people who are involved in the campaign are like really relevant to teenagers' lives. I know when I was in student government, there was some cool things we did, but a lot of it was just like, the homecoming float and things that were really
Right.
fun and great and like good for like school morale, but like really weren't addressing a lot of like the more serious, tough issues that teenagers are dealing with. And Blaine and his friends really decide to prioritize that in their approach to student government, which I was really excited about to like work that into Blaine's story. So if anything, I hope people are like, wow, this is very different than Donald Trump. Blaine is nothing like Donald Trump. I can confirm that right now.
I just love that you were in student government. Like I didn't know that.
Oh, you didn't? Oh yeah.
No. That's little Robbie couch fun fact for our attendees tonight. We're gonna take questions from the audience in a second, and Maddie will pop back on to facilitate that.
I thought you were gonna say we're gonna take a quick 5-minute break. We'll be right back. I was like, how does that work? Do we have like commercials? Okay.
Love to do that. I think that would be so good. Oh my God! Now I just lost my last question because.
Oh no! I distracted you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Think about it. I can talk about a quick student council thing if you want to think about it.
Let's see if that triggers something.
Okay. Well, I was in student government middle and high school. No, that's okay. Don't listen to me. Just yes. I was in student government in middle school and high school, and I've told this story before, so I'm sorry if people are like, yeah, we've heard this before, Robbie, and I've tweeted about it. But my like whole campaign shtick was, don't vote for a lazy boy, vote for couch. And that was on multiple posters all across Cabo area high school hallways. And I think that made me win the election. And then I was vice president of my junior class.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Who was president?
I believe it was Carly Henderson, who may or may not be on this call.
Okay.
Because Carly's still my friend. She was president, and then we didn't realize or maybe we did realize at the time, but we didn't really give it that much thought that when you're a class president, it's on you to throw your 10-year anniversary or your 10-year reunion. And when it was our 10-year reunion time, we're like, oh, like, wait, this is on us. Like, I didn't live in Michigan. Carly didn't live in Michigan. We were like, what's going to happen? So apologies to Clio High School class of 2007. I'm not sure what exactly happened with that, but.
Love this so much. I don't remember my question, but I'm really glad we got that story out of it.
Okay.
Cool. Maddie, what you got for us?
We've got some questions rolling in here. Just a quick reminder, if you have something you want to ask these guys, go ahead and pop it in the chat. Before we get to the questions, though, a couple people have weighed in on the Legally Blonde connection. So we have Holland Taylor plays Professor Stromwell to answer your question earlier. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. I know. I'm sorry. Thank you, whoever added that.
We've also had several people write in to say that they need to see Jennifer Coolidge as Aunt Star when this is inevitably adapted for film. So that leads me to my question, which is,
I would love that.
Yeah. How else do you have like a dream cast if this was to be adapted?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's definitely some actors that are floating around. I've been mostly thinking about like Sky Blue's casting, to be honest. Right. But with Blaine, yeah, but I'm always hesitant to drop like names because I don't want people to like picture those actors necessarily. I don't know. Adam, you know more about this than I do, of course. But there's some people, but I don't know. I don't want to drop them on the chat because
that's fair. And then also we just know that our readers have long memories, and then if someone else gets cast, you're all going to be tagging that person and saying that Robbie wanted this person, and it's just going to be disruptive. So it does no one any good right now. But we do know that we want Jennifer Coolidge.
Yes. Yes, and we'll find a way to have Reese be like in it somehow. We'll find the budget. Who cares? We'll find the budget to get Reese Witherspoon.
Yeah.
I'll go with the next question here, which you kind of touched on. What was the best and worst part of being in student government when you were in high school? And I think you have to be honest here because this came from someone who probably knew you pretty well back then.
Oh gosh. Is their last name Couch?
You probably should always be honest.
Sorry, your question was what was the best and worst part of student council?
Correct.
Okay. What was the best and worst part? I would say
making a change, Robbie.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think when you're in I don't want to say the spotlight, but when you're in that role of like a leadership role, I think there is a lot of I do remember, especially being an upperclassman, there was a lot of pressure. Like the whole goal was to get prom tickets down, like the price of prom. So there was a lot of pressure to like throw good fundraisers and like make money that would like be able to collectively bring down the prom tickets and pay for prom without kids paying like $100 a ticket or something. So that was not fun. I feel like when I was younger, it was a little bit more like carefree stuff. But I also, even though I kind of threw shade on doing homecoming floats, I actually loved making homecoming floats. We would like, and we won, I think we got first place a couple of years, but that was really
what was
fun.
your theme? Do you remember?
The year we won, what the theme of homecoming was board games, and we had Operation, and we were playing we were playing the Swords Creek Dragons, and we had, instead of like a dude on the operation table, we had a dragon on the operation table, and we had like his snout would light up if you like, because you know how like on the board game the nose lights up, so the snout would like have it was cool. That was definitely the best one we did. That was senior year.
I can't imagine topping that, so that sounds amazing. Okay, and what were
I guess the worst, or wait, did I answer that?
I mean, I guess you said the pressures of getting
I would say that would probably be the worst part.
That sounds like it sucks.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, we've got another. This one starts with some praise here for those of you that haven't read yet. I read this book in like 24 hours and I loved it. I loved how you involved mental health in the plot. What made you want to add that plot into Blaine for the Win?
Yay. Thank you for reading it so quickly, whoever wrote that. That was sort of tied to the pandemic era that I was writing it in. I felt like, myself included, so many people out there were really struggling and in a rough place, being inside, not being able to leave your apartment or your house, and especially being a teenager. I think having no school, no dances, no sports, no extracurricular activity, like so many really big, important milestone moments for young people were canceled. And I can only imagine how like devastating that would be to be in high school or college, or just be a young person, to have all of that kind of ripped out from under you. So I think I was thinking a lot about mental health just in general, and it made a lot of sense to, not that mental health is never not relevant, of course it is, but it seemed especially relevant to kind of work it in the era that we're living in now. So it was important to me. To those of you who haven't read the book yet, Blaine kind of makes mental health like a main component of his election strategy, and has some programs he wants to execute as senior class president. So I love the questions about mental health, because I feel like I haven't gotten as many, but that was a really important part of the book. So
I mean, it's interesting because especially when you're writing a rom-com, like people just expect everything to just be like fluffy and fun and kisses and smooches. And I mean, this was and Sky Blues is not like our, as like super rom-com-y as like as Blaine, but also shows a lot of respect for its mental health and amongst like its cast of characters. And that's just who you are as well. And I mean, these are things that you have talked about and written about over the years too. So I just know that that's like probably always going to be a component in your work, like one way or the other.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I feel like it's, and to your point, I feel like with a lot of my favorite rom-coms, a lot of them do deal with tougher issues. It's not like rom-coms are purely just frivolous stories. A lot of the ones that I think really stick with us have more sobering or darker, heartfelt themes to them. So you can have it all.
Speaking of having it all, we're back to our Legally Blonde illusion here. Since Elle Woods has her signature things in the movie, the color pink, small puppy, all the fashion, what are some signature things or looks for Blaine?
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good question. He is a muralist, so he's very into paint. So there's a good chance if you run into him on the sidewalk, he's gonna have paint smudges like on his hands and on his body. He is, I would definitely say he's fashionable. He wears a very a little bit off the wall eccentric look, but very Blaine to the anniversary dinner, right? In the chapter 1 with the
Blaine
suspenders.
would also say he's fashionable.
Yes, he definitely would. So I think he's very similar to Elle in certain ways. I think they're both very like expressive, joyful personalities. But there are some differences too. Did that answer the question? I totally blanked on what you asked me.
I think I covered it. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I'm gonna, just for time's sake, I'm gonna combine a couple of these because we've got some folks that are very interested about how you developed your characters here. So there's a couple people that have praised the names that you've given to your characters, and some that are curious if there's a lot of crossover between people in your own life that you may have drawn from.
Ooh, I think I always draw from people in my life to form the characters and their personalities and their motivations and who they are. But from a naming perspective, unless I'm forgetting a name where there's a very obvious connection. Well, I did in the Sky Blues, there's a middle name Robert that has connection to my dad. Shout out to you, Dad. But beyond that, there was never really an intentional naming of wanting to pull from someone in my own life. It's a really, because I've gotten this question before, like, how do you name your characters? I don't know, Adam, if you have like an exact science to it, but if I like come across a cool name just living my life, I'll jot it down. I'll also just like do like random searches to find a name that might feel like it fits a character's personality in some ways, but I don't really have an exact formula to how I come up with names. Sometimes it's just a really quick process. Other times it takes months for me to find like the right name for the right character. So I know that's not a good answer, but I kind of draw from everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I remember an author years ago, Melissa Walker, she was talking about how she would find names, I think, like while just strolling around a cemetery. And I was like, that's dope. And yeah, I mean, I definitely have used names from inspired by people in my life. I would say like their names are like cousins to the names of the people. Like I would use the name Brendan, who I was pulling from someone named Brandon, you know, and you know, it's not very original, but like I would use Freddie instead of Eddie, but yeah, and I also use people who I didn't like in high school, and like Mateo came from this kid that I didn't like in high school, and but it's like my most beloved character, too, so I feel like I reclaimed that name, but it was a cool name, so.
I was about to say, did I miss something? Mateo's not the villain.
No. I like love him. He's my like softest character. And so the direct opposite of this kid, who I'm sure is a lovely adult today, but I just didn't like him in high school.
Right, Mateo, if you're listening.
I know.
Okay, we've got time for just a couple more. This is a good one. Is there anything about being involved in school that you felt you couldn't do in the 2000s that you wrote into Blaine's experience being an out teen in 2022?
Oh, this is a really good question.
Love it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's tough to imagine what my life would have been if I was out of the closet in high school. It's hard to like put myself back in that era in my own shoes and like know what I would do differently. Especially because Blaine is so just like openly and proudly gay, and there's no explicit homophobia directed at him. He has accepting parents. He has a lot of allies at school and his community. So it's an interesting question. I don't know if I would have been more. I don't think if it would have been something where like I would have joined a specific team or club or something like that, but it more just would have been how I carried myself, how I navigated the world. I think I would have been much more free to be myself if I was out of the closet. At the same time, it's like I don't know if I would, even if I could go back in time, I don't know if I would, just because it's tricky as an adult to make decisions, you know, of what your like 14 or 13-year-old self should have done. I don't know if it would have been the safest. I don't know if it would have been really, really tricky and difficult for me to be out at my school. So there's a lot to unpack there. But I think it would have been more just about my comfort and confidence moving through the halls of my school, as opposed to like, joining a certain club or doing something like that.
All right,
That's a good question.
This one is a little bit of a heavy hitter, but I think
Oof.
something you both could weigh in on. There's been
Oh
a
my God,
ton
I'm
of
nervous.
national, oh yeah, there's been a ton of national news lately about gay representation in schools and for young people, and also a lot about queer youth becoming very politically active. What would you say to your young adult audience in places that are seeing things like book bans or anti-LGBTQ legislation?
I love this question. Yeah, I mean, it's such an important question. I think right now we are seeing a huge wave of hate directed at young LGBTQ people and trying to cut off access to stories that really are critical for young queer people to have access to. Um, it's so amazing when I see young people and like high schoolers like on Instagram or TikTok like doing protests at their school, just getting involved, showing up to either student council meetings or school board meetings, and just raising your voice and being heard. I think sometimes the loudest voice in the room can kind of get their way, and right now there's like a very, very loud minority of people that are really trying to restrict access and really erase the identities of LGBTQ people. And it's important for all of us to kind of step up and get involved locally and do what we can to keep these stories in school libraries and in schools in general. And I don't know, Adam, do you have anything to add?
I mean, it's I mean, I've seen some pretty atrocious things having been an author since 2015, but what we've been seeing this year is it like my chest feels so tight right now. Like it really does feel like the worst and the most intense and the most extreme, and I really want to like just express like self-care in this time, and like show up and use your voice when you can, be a little louder than you expect yourself to be, but also don't think that you have to take on every beat of this fight like that is not on you. I'm like so in awe of anyone who puts themselves in that space to defend themselves, defend each other, defend their community, and to just overall like be engaged. But we also need you, and I just go watch Legally Blonde, go read Blaine. Like literally, this is not just like push the book, but I mean really like find joy in these times as well. Like don't make your life miserable 24/7. Like it's not fair to you, and so just remember to take care of yourself in this time, and have conversations with people who want to be helpful, who don't maybe know where to start, and you having a conversation with one person can continue to have a beautiful domino effect. But really truly take care of yourselves and your mental well-being as we sort this shit out.
That's awesome. Thank you both. Our last one here, bringing it back to a little bit more positive note, but this is a two-parter, okay? So the first part, the audience wants to know which of Adam's books is Robbie's favorite. And then just kind of a general, if you guys have any comments on the growth of queer young adult books that has we've seen in the last couple of years, just how that market has expanded.
Super cute question. Thank you, Asker. Robbie?
Well, okay. Not that you need any more promotion, but I love They Both Die at the End.
Real original.
No. Well,
Okay.
That's not my full answer. Which, fact check me if I'm wrong, but the top selling young adult book of 2021, is that correct, Adam? One of, but yeah, the top,
yeah.
Which is
Thank
nuts, but an amazing book. So definitely pick it up if you have not read it yet. But I would probably say my favorite would be More Happy Than Not, just because it was my introduction to you. I loved your writing style. I loved the story so much. And it was also, not to like toot your horn too much, you were the first author that I read that was a queer YA, that was a queer YA book that also had really great mainstream success. And I was like, oh my gosh, people can do this. So you're such an inspiration, Adam.
Thank you. Shut
Um,
up.
but I said that like I'm joking, but I'm serious. And then the second part of the question was, just
how
the
do we
rise.
feel about the advancements and queer
Yeah.
literature in general?
Yeah.
Should I answer first just so that you get the last word in your event?
Yeah, sure.
I feel weird answering and then or letting you answer that anyway. I mean, it's been incredible. I published at a time, more happy than not, at a time where publishers were still saying things like gay and Puerto Rican, like choose something, or publishers for that book specifically telling me to like make the main character straight instead of gay. Publishers know better than to say that today, but in 2013 they did not. And to see such a breadth of new queer authors, and not especially, like obviously we have Robbie's incredible work now, but we have so many authors who are just so outside of like the cisgender space finally. And we have like a lot more like mainstream novels by non-binary trans authors, more authors, people of color, queer authors of color, and just like really welcoming like intersection. And I mean, I know Robbie and I are both fans of like Julian Winters, and who's an incredible Black gay author, and Ryan LaSala and Melinda Lowe, and it just we've been seeing. I mean, Melinda Lowe, who's been in it for the longest and is only finally being celebrated for her really like finally reaching like a new level of acclaim with her National Book Award winning novel, Last Night's Holograph Club, and as like an Asian queer lesbian. And so yeah, it just it's not just the stories about gay white boys anymore. And I mean, that's been really incredible to watch.
Yeah, totally. Plus all of that. I think it's so cool to see just the expansion of the whole queer community starting to, and to be clear, there's definitely more progress that needs to be done, but to have more voices from like the full spectrum of the queer community finally start to have a seat at the table in many ways is really cool to see. And it's cool to see straight readers, not that, we can write books for queer kids, but it's cool to see that straight teenagers are reading these books too. And there's much more openness to reading queer lit, even if the reader themselves isn't queer. So that's really awesome to see. And I would also, not to tie it into a Debbie Downer moment, but the question about the backlash, I feel like it's good to remind ourselves that we're seeing this backlash in many ways because of the progress that's been made. So it's, even though the backlash and this hate is horrible, at the same time, it's kind of cool and affirming to know that we've made these steps forward, and it's scaring homophobes and scaring transphobes. So we just have to keep fighting and keep trying to, have more people get a seat at the table.
Love all that. Yeah. You smart.
You are too.
Thanks.
Is that a window behind you or a screen? I'm sorry, I've been wondering.
No, it's a screen. It's a screen above my bed.
Oh,
so it is screen? In fact not like snowing outside.
Okay. I was gonna say, I was like, where in?
But thank you for asking the tough questions that I'm sure has been on someone else's brain throughout this past hour. So,
right. You're very welcome.
Quickly before we go, can you tease like what's coming next in the world of Robbie Couch? I know that you have already kind of publicly teased it a little bit.
So book 3 will come out in 2023. If I see you again tomorrow, I'm really not to shove Blaine out of the spotlight, but I'm super excited about that book. It's sort of like a gay Groundhog's Day concept. So it's like a speculative romance that I am very, very into. And working on some final edits of that right now. So that'll come out in 2023. And there is a book 4, but I'm not going to talk about it. But book 4 is in the works too.
I've heard about it and it's amazing too. So
let's hope.
That's awesome. I just want to pop back in to congratulate you, Robbie, on the release of the book today. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and joining us tonight for this launch event. Like I said before, we're so excited to have the book available now and to get to share it with everybody. So thank you for joining us tonight. Adam, thank you for hosting this conversation, for your thoughtful questions. Robbie, for joining us. And thanks for writing Blaine for the win.
Yes.
Just to wrap us up,
I just want to say thank you to everyone too. Thank you, Unabridged. If anyone is in Chicago, please check out Unabridged. It's in Lakeview, Boys Town area. And thank you, Adam, and thank you to everyone for showing up, because this means so much to me. So I really appreciate it.
Oh, great. Just last thing, I just dropped in our chat again a link. If you haven't had a chance to get a copy of the book, like I said before, we've got signed editions here in the shop. We're happy to hold them for you, send them for you. If you think of somebody that wasn't able to join for this conversation tonight, we'll have a recording available on our website tomorrow, so you can send that to them if you think they would enjoy, and then they can get a copy of Blaine for the Win.
Yay.
Hey.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you all.
Good night.
Congrats, Robbie.
Thank you. Thank you all. Bye.